Hello, everyone. Hi. How are you? This is the Global Empowerment Summit, and here I am with Vinotini to give you some extra value with this personal interview. And we will talk about the stories. We will talk about how to write stories. And Vinotini is someone who I really appreciate and I'm really looking up to because she really went for her dream. She started as an English teacher and she was really good with writing, and then she wanted to do something else and she became a copywriter. And then she also wrote a book. I really love the title though, Thoughts of a Caged Bird, under my pseudo. Sorry, I will cut it out. It's too morning. I will start again. Sorry.
It's okay.
No problem. It's still not murking my tongue. Okay, one more time. Cut. Welcome, everyone. This is the Global Empowerment Summit, and here I am with Vinotini Ananda Krishan at the interview where we are talking about how to write a story. She is an amazing person. I'm looking up to her because she is someone who went for her dreams. She was an English teacher, and straight after that, she learned a lot and she became a copywriter. And she also wrote a book which has the title Thoughts of a Caged Bird. Tell us a little bit about yourself and welcome at the Global Empowerment Summit, Vinotini.
Thank you so much, Andrea. As you know, my name is Vino. Call me Vino, actually. I'm a copywriter, as mentioned before. And yes, I did publish a book. I guess I would say I'm a firm believer of pursuing your passion because, like mentioned before, I was an English teacher. I was actually a teacher for about 4 years. And then while I was a teacher, I was also writing, but I realized that I really love writing and I'm not exactly happy doing what I was doing. Not that it's a bad thing, but it's just I wasn't happy. It's not my line of, what I love. So I decided okay, let's just, try getting into the writing line and see if I can get a job. And surprisingly, I got. So yeah, I think it's good to pursue your passion because that would make you happy with what you're doing, as well as always wanting to give your 101% because you love what you're doing.
So where are you from originally, Vino?
I'm from Malaysia.
You are from Malaysia. And what would you say if people would like to know what is Malaysia about? What would you say in a short few sentences? Like, what is the country about? Just describe it.
Malaysia is full of multiracial people. There's Indians, there's Malays, there's Chinese, there's the Aboriginals. So we are a place where there's a lot of people from different culture, different races, different values, but we all live together because we learn how to respect and understand each other. So that's how we manage to live through all these years harmoniously. Because of that, we respect what the other person or the other culture does, and they respect us in return. So yeah, I would say it's just a multiracial pot of harmony.
I really love this. Already coming out, your writing skills. I remember because I live in Kuala Lumpur for 5 years now, and I remember the big sign, the Kuala Lumpur, the city of diversity. I believe that's somewhere next to the botanical garden. And I always go next to it and that's my place.
How was your stay in KL? How was it for you?
It's really nice. I believe we came here 5 years ago and it was an amazing experience for me. It's totally different, like the life in Europe. It's different people, different culture, different food. But I love the colors. I love the spices. I love my favorite food is the nasi kerabu.
Oh, wow.
Love it. That's something that I really love. And yes, I think this is already our second home. It's close to my heart and I have a lot of friends here. So yeah, it's a nice place to live. But let's go back to you, your story. Tell me a little bit about your childhood, how you grew up, because this summit is about the young and the wise and be bold together. So what is the difference between today and for example, when you were a kid in Malaysia, in the school as an educator? Tell me a little bit about the differences.
Okay, sure. Just that it's not that much of a difference, but I actually did see the things that were different back when I was young and now. So I guess I would consider myself a millennial, like towards the end kind of millennial. And right now the next generation is Gen Z. So when I was teaching, I taught in kindergarten, I taught in primary school, and I also taught in secondary school, as in high school. So I've seen the generational changes from a kid to a teenager to a young kid and then to a teenager, and I'm like, okay, this is a bit different. It's like a culture shock to me. When I was growing up, it was very, I guess I would have to be on my own most of the time. Not that my parents weren't there, they were always there. It's just that they encourage being on your own, like whatever you're doing, you got to be independent, you got to take care of yourself. But from what I see now, a difference is that parents are always with their kids, but not in a bad way. They're always supportive of their kids, which was something I craved back then. Like, okay, I mean, like, yeah, I gotta be independent, but I've always wanted them to be with me as well. I mean, it made me who I am today, but at the same time, when I see the current generation where the parents are always involved in their kids' progress, like education or in their life decisions, even if they're deciding what to do for college, they're always there, like, it's good that you're doing this, I'm supporting you. Back then it was only, I mean, if you're in Malaysia, it's only doctor, lawyer, teacher, engineer, those kind of job scopes. But now we actually do have other job scopes and parents are supportive of it. So I guess it's the mindset. That's one thing I would say it's different. Another one is technology. When I was a kid, I did not have smartphones. I got a laptop very late because it was not required. But now I see, when I was in kindergarten, there were kids as young as 5 years old would ask me, teacher, do you have an iPhone? And I'm like, not now yet. I'm still using an Android, but do you have an iPhone? They're like, yeah, my mom got me an iPhone. I'm like, okay, but you're 5 years old. What are you using an iPhone for? So I see that they grow up with technology. So it's no surprise to see that the Gen Zs are all about using their phones, being in the technology, being famous on TikTok when I'm still like learning how to get through it. I think we all are learning about it. So yeah, one difference one difference is mindset. Another difference is in terms of technology, how they grew up with it, but we took our time to grow with it together. Yeah.
Thank you for the descriptive explanation, because I believe this is something very important for every generation, just to explain how they see each other and then understand each other more. So this is one of the goals of the summit, to show to every generation that, yeah, there are differences, yeah, there are advantages, that there are things that some people know better than the others. For example, youngsters, I'm fascinated how they deal with the gadgets and all the internet nowadays. They just don't think, just scroll, and they know what they see. I have to pay really attention. So yeah, that's something that is changing. And there was also a bigger change in our lives that everyone knows, and we are all struggling with it. So how did you cope with the remote life? How did you cope to switch your job from normal being in an office style to being at home? How was this transformation for you? Could you do it? Was it hard?
I loved it, actually. I love remote working, but I realized that there's a difference in sectors. Because I was a teacher and I was doing remote work for teacher online teaching, it was very difficult. So I would say that is one sector that you can't do it online. You just got to go face to face. It's just circumstances. So, but now that I'm in the corporate line, like I'm working in office and currently working from home, I actually loved it. It made me realize that all you got to do is give me a deadline, give me the brief. I can work whenever I want, wherever I want, as long as I submit, my work to you. So I actually enjoyed it. I don't want to go back to office, but I know it's it's the inevitable that I need to go back soon. I liked how as a writer, I've always had this where I work better at night. During the day, I'm just very not motivated. Like I can still write, but it's unproductive. I would just probably write 1, 2 paragraphs and I'll just wanting to sleep. But at night, I actually have that drive, like, okay, this is coming to my mind, this is coming to my mind, and I can just write. So I like that if with remote work, it would actually help me in terms of that. It's not that I'm not managing my time properly, it's what works best for me. If I were to go to office, it's going to be 8 to 5. I can't work 8 to 5, but I have to force myself. But if it's at night, I don't have to force myself. I can just do whenever I feel like it. So yeah, that's one. And then another thing is in terms of dressing. Like if you go to office, you gotta dress up. You can't go in your singlet and your PJs to the office. And I mean, it's not a bad thing. I enjoy dressing up, but there are some days where it's a long week and you have no choice, but you got to dress up, but you're not happy with it. So working from home, or remote working it's great in that, like, I could wear, if I feel like wearing a dress, I could wear a dress at home. If I don't want to, if I still want to stay in my pajamas, I could still stay in my pajamas as long as my work is done. So I think for me personally, I enjoy remote working. I'm just not sure if others would, but yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts on remote working.
And it's also nice that you mentioned how you are changing your routines and how you are fitting your routines to your style, like being a night owl and writing at home. That's something that you really like, and this is something that will come in the future also for others, right? To find out your own routine, to find out what fits you. Maybe you just wake up later, you start working later, and it's okay. Because many people feel the pressure, right? Because they think that, oh, I have to work because it's 9 o'clock, I have to start to work. But on the other hand, there is a flexibility. As you said, you just have to do the work. That's the only thing. Was it hard for you to motivate yourself to work, or it was easy and natural for you to be as motivated at home as at the office?
It was okay. It was natural because it's the deadline that pushes me. So if they said that, okay, I need it by Monday, all right, I'll do it. How I do it, they don't need to know whether I do it on a Sunday or I do it on a Saturday. But I will submit by Monday. I always meet my deadlines. That's one thing. So I think if you can meet your deadlines, it shouldn't matter where you're doing it or what you're doing to do it. Just submit. Okay, done. You're considered a good employee already if you do that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that everyone can take from this interview already, right? That it's up to you how you do it, but do it when it has to be done. It has to be done. That's it. So very good message here. Let's go further to your copywriting background, and let's talk about first, like, what are those tips that you think you could give to people where to start if they want to write? Because a lot of people are thinking about writing a book, about writing articles, about doing a blog like you do. So what's the first step? What they should focus on? Learning English better, doing some courses? What are the steps that they can do to prepare?
Okay. For me, the first thing is for you to start writing. I mean, yes, you can go for courses, you can improve your English. That is the later part, but you got to start writing first. You got to see how you flow. What is the style that you write with? Are you writing very formally? Are you writing very casually? Are you writing like you're speaking, you got to realize how you're writing first. So just start writing. The advice I usually give friends or colleagues who come and ask me like, hey, how do you write? I'm like, just write. You like, okay, in one day, if you want to start writing in one day, um, whatever happened in that day, just write down in a journal or in a notebook or in your phone, a phone notepad. You just type in, okay, today I did this. That is how you practice. Like, okay, you are starting to describe what you know first, and then later on you can start to write about, if you want to write fiction, you can imagine what you would have liked that day to go like. So that's how you start. After you know, like, okay, now I know I can write, but that's when you identify what are the issues in your writing. Okay, maybe it's English, maybe you're not that proficient in English. So, okay, you read more, or you go for English courses, or you learn online, you learn through YouTube or something, and then you incorporate that in your writing. And then later on, if you want to add on more, like you want to do it as a full-time thing, or you want to publish a book, if you want, you can go for courses. But the first thing to do is you got to start writing. If you don't start writing, you wouldn't know what's happening. You wouldn't know what's your capability. You wouldn't know, maybe you're actually good. Maybe when you write and then you pass it to someone and then they're reading, they're like, oh, this is good. Where did you find it? And it's like, oh, you wrote it. It's actually good. So you just gotta start writing somewhere. I always say you start with your day. Like at the end of the day, you just sit down and be like, okay, recount back. Today I woke up and then I did this. I went here. I felt this. Yeah, like that. So you start writing first. Later on, you identify what are the issues you face, and then you take steps to combat that.
Where do you get your inspiration? Do you have favorite writers who you are reading, or could you name a few, or do you have someone that you follow?
I've always been an avid reader since I was young as I was in kindergarten. My parents used to say that people were amazed that I used to go for books rather than Barbie dolls. I mean, I still love my Barbie dolls, but I used to go for books more. So when I was young, I used to read Enid Blyton. I think she's a famous author for all the kids around the world. So I used to read her books. I love her imagination, her fairy world. I used to just stay stuck in there and people have to come and tell me like, that's not real, you gotta come out from it. From Enid Blyton, then I was reading Nancy Drew, those detective stories. And as I grew up, I did read a lot of books. I read books from Nora Roberts. I read Harry Potter. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. But I have two favorite authors. One is Jodi Picoult. Another one is Katie Glass. Jodi Picoult is the first one. She writes fiction. It's fictional stories, but she actually researched about it, and she touches on, I wouldn't say sensitive, I would say she touches on important topics. So her books are, it's not just like relationship based, like romance or horror. It touches on, like, one of my favorite is on racism. It's a story about a white supremacist couple who was giving birth. The wife was giving birth in the hospital, and it was a black nurse that was taking care. So there was a conflict there. Something happened. I'm not going to give spoilers. Something happened, and then they were just butting heads because of their belief in different races like that. So as I read, it's like she just pulls you into the story, and when you read, you just can't put the book down. Her book is really thick, and I could finish it in 2 days without sleeping. So that's how much I love her books. Katie Glass is it's more of a, it deals with children. She's a real, I mean, it's not fiction, it's a real story. She fosters children for a while before they get adopted. So she fosters children from bad backgrounds, and she actually shares about them, like what the kid went through. So it's a bit disturbing if you have a very weak heart, but her books are great. Her books are really good. You actually get to open your eyes and see what happens out there. So yeah, I guess I would say the first person to push me to like I want to be a writer is I want to be like Jodi Pickle. Like I still write fiction, but it's so real that people just can't put the book down. So yeah, I would say those two are my favorite authors or inspiration to just write. Sorry, Andrea, I can't hear you.
I remember that you mentioned Harry Potter, and you mentioned also that you couldn't sleep during the night. So I was also doing that. Imagine I bought Harry Potter books during my exams, and it was a very, very bad decision
Yeah, it
because
is.
I, I was sitting in front of the book and I didn't sleep during the night because just wanted to finish it. It was the very thick one, one of the biggest books. And I was like, wow,
Oh
I don't
no.
believe I will be successful tomorrow's exam because I forgot I was reading
Maybe
Harry Potter.
you could have written the spells in Harry Potter in your
Maybe,
exam.
maybe I did. Who knows what I wrote already? So how does a nice story come together? Like how do you start to write a story? Is there a beginning? Is there something that you have to put there? What is the middle? Tell us a little bit of the structure of a story, how to write them.
Okay. For me, usually when I shower, it's when I get ideas. Like I would just start thinking in the shower. So when I come out, what I'll do is I'll immediately record because I don't have time to write. I need to change. But I come out of the shower and I immediately just record myself like, okay, so the story starts like this. This happens. There's these two characters. And yeah, that's how I start. I Yes, there are usually rules for you to follow. Like you gotta have a start, you gotta have a middle, you gotta have an end. Uh, I guess if you're new to writing, then it's best to follow that guideline. Like you gotta start with something, come up with a middle, and then a climax, and then you close it. But if you're already familiar with writing and you're confident with your writing, you can actually just start however you want to start. I mean, you read all these books, it doesn't necessarily start with Once Upon a Time or it starts with the beginning. that maybe any blind, yeah, if you're writing children's books, then yeah, you gotta have like a start. But if you're writing like starting from young adults books, sometimes they start with the climax in front, like I was running and someone is chasing me, and then you're like, what's happening? And then it goes back to the beginning. So it really depends on you. If you're a new writer, I would suggest yes, follow that guideline. You have a start, then you slowly move your characters, and then you go to a middle, you go to a climax, something happens, and then you close it nicely. You can either leave it hanging. The closure can be hanging. I tend to do that. If you've read my book, I tend to do that. I like to leave my ending just hanging and people are wondering what happened. Or you can just close it in a nice way also. But if you're already, I wouldn't say experienced, you're already confident in your writing, you can just start however you want, whichever you feel would flow in your story very well. Then you can just go for it. Yeah.
That's nice tips, audience, youngsters, and everyone else, wise people watching this summit. Please, this is the way to write a book, and give you amazing tips. So take them and implement them. And let's go a little bit further. What is your style of writing? Tell us about your style. What is your specialty? Do you write sci-fi or crimies or?
Uh, I okay. The broad one is fiction. I love writing stories. I love writing fiction, and I would say I'm good at it as compared to other writing styles like factual or lifestyle related. I dabble a little bit in poetry as well. Because for me, I feel poetry is a bit free. Yes, even that has rules, but if you see modern poets now like Rupi Kaur, Longleaf, they don't really follow that. They just they write something and it touches you. Like when you read, you're like, hey, I can relate to that. So I try to dabble in poetry a bit. In terms of fiction, it's actually any genre. I don't really have a specific one. of course, I used to start with romance because I was a young teenage girl who was like, oh, the head in the clouds, wanting to get a romantic
Romantic
story.
stories. I just met a lovely guy.
Yes, I was young. So I used to I used to imagine a lot about relationships. So I used to write a lot of romance. But then I slowly branched out. I wrote about friendship. I wrote horror. I wrote thriller. I wrote about family. I wrote about mental health. Um, yeah, I started to branch out in terms of my fiction writing. So I don't really have like in fiction, I don't have a specific one that I love writing. I just love writing fiction. I just love writing stories. I love imagining things that is not happening but I want it to happen. Or I just think something would be better. I don't know. Yeah. So I guess fiction is my specialty.
Is there a difference when you are writing stories for a blog or when you are writing stories for a book, for online and offline?
Yes.
In the
It's
style or how you talk or how do you formulate your sentences?
Yes, there is. I mean, it's not that big of a difference, just very small. When I'm writing for my blog, I don't really have a word limit to attend to. But when I was publishing a book, there is actually a word limit. They said as much as it's a short story, it can't be less than 1,000 to 1,500 words. It gotta be longer. So I use some of my stories are based on my blog also. Like I actually took some that I really like and I want to publish it, so I copy pasted, and then I realized that it's actually shorter, so I gotta add in a few more things like extra words or another scene just to make it longer. So other than that, there's not much of a difference. It's just in terms of the word count, so that they can print it nicely and it wouldn't look like just like 1.5 page. It would look like at least 2.5 or 3 pages long, even though it's a short story.
Do you do also copywriting for content or the new ways of like social media? Do you take on these kind of requests?
Currently, no, but I work on my own social media because my current job is a bit heavy, so I can't take freelance jobs anymore. But I still write on my blog, personal blog, and I work on my personal slash public Instagram page and Facebook page as well. Writing.
So you can visit also the Instagram page of Vinotini next to the LinkedIn page that I wrote here, and make sure that you connect with her. It was an amazing interview. I really love this conversation, and I hope you learned a lot of things about book writing. And I'm sure we will come back with Vinotini with some other interesting things during this summit. And Vinotini, what would be the thing that you would message to the people now in these times? What would be your general message to the audience out there, the young and the wise? How can they be brought together?
The young and the wise. I think one way they can be brought together is reading and writing. I mean, that's one thing that is never going to go away. Whether you're an older generation or you're the younger generation, whether you're reading books or you're reading Kindle and on your phone, it doesn't matter. You're still reading and you're actually writing something. Even creating content, I would say it's also considered writing, because you can't just create video. You need dialogue, you need points that you put on your videos, you need caption. It's still writing. So I think in the next 100 generations to come, reading and writing will always be something that is there. So what I would like to say for the new generation, because what the older has taught my generation is to read, to gain knowledge, and basically just read. The writing part is what I did, it's what individually they do. I would like to encourage the future generation to continue reading, because that's how you learn more. You learn more things, and whether you want to be a writer or not, that's up to you, but just read. It could be anything. If you're one who reads stories, just read stories. If you're one who loves poetry, read poetry. If you like reading newspapers, go ahead, read newspapers. No one is saying anything. If you like autobiographies, just go ahead. But just make sure you read and you pass that on to the next generation, because reading is just, it's going to be there forever. I think I can guarantee that it's going to be there forever, and it's a good thing. So yeah, just continue reading and creating content or writing, whatever makes you happy.
Hope you guys will develop such as a big passion as Vino has for books and reading, and take her advice, start reading and start writing, and let's write a story. And thank you very much for watching us. See you at the other session. This is the Global Empowerment Summit, where we bring together purpose-driven individuals to help underrepresented groups with knowledge sharing. Thank you very much, and see you very soon at another session with someone else. Bye. Thank you, Vino.
Welcome.
I have some problem with my internet. That's not good.
Oh no.
Yes, it was such a good conversation, and now it's saying me that I have some problems with my internet connection. Let me check. Because it's funny, it's keeping me talking to you, but I'm in this hotel, and sometimes in the hotel, it's doing some. You have to reconnect to the hotels.
Oh, okay.
Let me see whether I have you. Hopefully. I don't know. It should record because the time is